Hello and welcome back to Rev Endurance Sports and the third video in the series of videos talking about my 300-kilometer event. It's my longest ride of the year. I did a lot of long rides last year, 2023, and then this year I've just been too, the best word is unmotivated. Really unmotivated to train. I had the weekend off and I didn't even ride this weekend. So put out some content instead, and hopefully you folks are enjoying the other two videos that I put out. So one was on the event recap, and then the other was footage that Jess took while she was sagging. So what I wanted to do today is for those that are interested in power, heart rate, and that kind of data to go over that a little bit. So let's get into that. All right, now I apologize if while I'm clicking around and doing stuff, I may miss, my camera may be off, wandering a little bit. All right, so let's talk about the entire event, which is right here. So 10:43 was the pedal time, 188 miles, training stress score of 766. I talked about training stress score in a different video, so I'll link that. So 5,500 kilojoules, intensity factor of about 85%. That's what IF stands for. And then there is the normalized power for the entire event, 169. The variability, that's 1.14. So 1.0 would be just a nice steady state, maybe even a time trial. So this just means a lot of variability, up, down, up, down, up, down. 9,000 feet of gain. And let me scroll down a little bit here. So average heart rate was 148. I'm sorry, power. Average heart rate 141, so on, so on, so on. 17.5 average speed. Now, it is important to note that this course is basically set up in three significant segments. So if I were, and if you look at this, this is, time at, what is this here? Time at 0 to 15.5, and that's because there was 9,000 feet of climbing and also descending. So 34% of the time during this event, I was in the range of 0 to 15. I could really break this up into a lot smaller tranches instead of, a 15-mile, like this one is 15 to 17. So like a 2 to 3 mile breakup, right? And this just kind of will tell you, because a lot of folks don't have a power meter, so you don't have the experience of riding with a power meter and what the data means. So it shows, for example, at the different speed levels, and then this one is just ridiculous because, anything over 22.2 miles per hour is, it goes all the way to 999. So I got to figure out how to adjust that. Here's another way to look at the speed distribution. So these three here, 16.9 to 18.5, 18.5 to 20, and so on and so forth. So if you are not familiar with power meters and wattage, then that's a good way for you to look at this event or this output graph here. These are the heart rate distributions. So you can break this up by 5, and you can show at what level you were doing what. Power, obviously here, that's a lot of downhill, right? 0 to 15 watts or coasting to a traffic light. Oh, sorry. See, again, I was off. The camera was not in the right place. So you can go here and you can exclude the zeros, and you'll see that that bar will go away. So I'm clicking on it, nothing's happening. There. So now that big tall bar goes away, and then now you can look at your power in this area here of what ranges and how long and what percentage of the event you were in those. This was mainly a zone 3, zone 4 ride for me. Let's see, what is that? 420 in zone 3, zone 4 of 3 hours, and then there's some here above that. Now let's get into, so the nice little pale blue line, that's the route. But let's go in here, because what I need to do now is I need to clean up this graph. When you first land on your power chart, this is all the noise that you see. Generally, I take away F for Fahrenheit, so weather, hide it. Miles per hour, I'm not interested in that at all, so I hide that. Wattage, yes. Heart rate, yes. Elevation profile, yes. And then RPM, I also ignore that. I just don't need to know that. So this is now the chart cleaned up a little bit. And then the next thing I do is I smooth this out as much as possible. So now the lines are more distinct. So there's heart rate. This is power. And then the gray in the background is the elevation profile. All right. So that's how I clean out a graph. If you are interested in speed, keep it. If you're interested in cadence, keep it. If, for example, weather is important to you, because let's say you wanted to show, well, this is when it was cold, and this is how I was performing when it was 37 degrees, or this is how I was performing when it was 77 degrees, right? So you decide if temperature is important to you, and it wasn't for me, so let's hide that. All right, there's a couple of things I like to do, and I like to say, okay, how did I ride the first part of the event compared to the second part of the event? So let's just say we are going to look at this and say from, so let's see, first half. All right, so I'm going to choose this one here, first half of the event, and now it highlights the blue stuff. First part of the event was 5 hours of pedal time, 5:06 of stop time, traffic lights and such, 82 miles, so about 130 something K. There's the TSS, 357, and what's important here is the normalized power, 169, with an intensity factor of 0.84, so 84%. So how did I do on the first part of the ride, and how did I do on the second half of the ride? So you'll see my normalized power went up 1 watt. My watts per kilogram went from 2.4 to 2.5. So normalized power of 170. Now what's interesting to note here is that this is a 105 mile segment, whereas the other segment was 82.6 or whatever. So it's important to note that even though this was the second half of the event, and even though this was a much longer segment, from 82.6 to 105, I actually increased my power output, and you can see the intensity factor is 0.85, so 1 more percentage point. Or you could look at it a different way and say, wow, from front end to back end of the course, you were right on target. You did not vary much from your power production, even though we're talking 188 mile day. So then the other thing I sometimes will pay attention to is I may break it up into thirds, or I may break it up by controls and say, okay, from the start to the first control, 171 normalized power, right? 2.51. You could see, I mean, hopefully you're starting to see a trend where everything is super close. You know, here is 168 normalized power from the first control to the second control. So 60 miles there, 168. You could see everything is between 168, 169, 170. Let's go from the control in Corona to Newport Beach. That was a 40, almost 42-mile segment. Now there was a lot of headwinds, so you could see there's a bump there to 175 normalized power for this segment of the course. So it is, you know, the average speed 19.1. It's a lot of downhill, as you can see here, but it's into the wind. So you get some benefit of rolling downhill, and then you're doing, between Brooke and I, we're trading pulls into this headwind. And that's from the, let's say, the control number 2 to control number 3. So from mile 83 to mile 125. And then the last control, so here, 165, so it dropped a little bit. But remember, now we're basically flat, might have a little bit of a tailwind, and we were still moving along. And so obviously the key is to use as little energy as possible. If I'm still doing 18 miles per hour average speed over that last 100K, which had about 1,600 feet of gain, and I'm able to conserve energy by riding, switching on and off with Brooke's wheel, then yeah, do what you can to just keep the speed up, but reduce the power, reduce the intensity. You get a little bit more of a draft when you got a little bit of a tailwind, and you're just rolling a lot easier. You don't have a lot of climbing on this last segment. So I can, if there's an interest for more detail, with this program, you can easily just take, okay, I want to know what I was doing from this segment to this segment, and then the data calculates and it tells you. And right, so if anyone has any specific questions, I can address them in the comments, and also in the in a future video, if that would be something that would interest people. And one of the things that I want to stress, if you are a person that wants to start doing endurance events, so this is for the entire route, and the stop time is 11:20. I'm sorry, total time 11:20. So stop time of 17 plus 20. So let's call that 37 minutes of stop time over a very long course, if you will. And that's how I can get these events done at a reasonable amount of time, because there's very, very little stop time. There were 3 controls, but the first one I never stopped at. Second and third controls I did stop at, and then of course there's just tons of lights along the way once you come back from the bike path and stuff like that. So anyway, that is all for today. Please like and subscribe. I'd like to get the subscriber count up. Many of you, I get the analytics, and it's like 85% of my views are from folks that are not subscribed. So please subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, and it would mean the world to me. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and hit that notification bell. We'll see you up the road.